Bogotá, Colombia, a city that sits over 8,000 feet in the heart of the Andes Mountains. In 2017, Elevation Worship translated their first worship album into Spanish. And a year later, we started translating Pastor Steven's sermons. This has allowed an entirely new community to not only be able to watch from afar, but to fully connect and engage. As of today, there are over 3,800 people connected to our church from Latin America. I'm Colleen, and I'm here in Bogotá to meet with some of these eFam and find out the impact our church is having over 2,100 miles away in Latin America. First, we're headed to La Mariposa, where some of our eFam served this past Love Week. We're meeting up with Watch Party leaders Cesar and Paula, who hosted a meal packing event for the community here. Okay, so we just met Cesar at the plaza, and he brought us Colombian coffee. 10 out of 10. Tell everyone a little bit about where we are right now. You guys served here during Love Week, but I'd love to hear about this area and what you got to do during that time.
Para la montaña y para esta comunidad, el Love Week fue un momento de tranquilidad, porque una semana antes del Love Week hubo un incendio y se quemaron 12 casas. Y esa gente se quedó sin nada, no tenía ni qué comer. Y Dios trajo la comida a través del Love Week para que esas personas al menos una semana pudieran haber comido. O sea que el Love Week a esa montaña jamás lo van a olvidar. Siempre nos dice, ¿dónde están los de las camisetas azules? ¿Cuándo van a volver?
How did you guys first find out that our sermons were translated in Spanish?
En el 2020 pues nos encerramos y buscando en YouTube y apareció Steven Furtick, pero en español, en la traducción, y así explosivo, me encantó.
So for you guys, what was the thing that made you take that extra step to go beyond just watching the sermons?
Entendemos que el tiempo se acaba y es necesario salir, es necesario ir a donde sea y a donde tengamos lo que tengamos que hacer, y a través de la misión acá en las comunidades vulnerables, pero también reuniendo a las personas para que escuchen la palabra de Dios. Y Watch Party era una oportunidad para que también recibieran, para que a través de llevarles y decirles Jesús es el camino, la verdad y la vida, pues también que puedan crecer.
You guys embody so much of what we hope our online community is doing with the messages that they hear on the weekend. It's unbelievable. I'd love to hear, tell me a little bit more about your watch party, how it got started, and just what you've seen God do in it so far.
El Watch Party lo vimos como una herramienta para seguir evangelizando otra clase de personas. Esta es la mejor oportunidad para gente que se está muriendo en vida. Y en las 2 Watch Party que hemos hecho, 5 personas han recibido de Jesús.
Y eso es ganancia.
Y eso ya ganamos.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for who you are and what you're doing. Our church is behind you, and so excited to see what God is doing here in Bogotá and just the way that He's using you. So thank you guys. After hanging out with Cesar, it's time to do a little sightseeing. But sightseeing is always better with friends, so we invited a couple of eFam from out of town to join us as we take in a bird's eye view of Bogotá. Carlos is from Venezuela and Natalia is from Panama, and both of them are part of Spanish-speaking eGroups. We're making the ascent up, and I mean straight up, to Monserrate. Well, thank you guys for being here today. So both of you are super involved in eGroups in Spanish. So I just want to talk to you both a little bit about that and how you got connected to the church. So first, tell me, how did you first even hear about Elevation?
Yo conocí Elevation a través de podcasts. Empecé a escuchar prédicas del Pastor Steven Furtick. Comencé a conectar con la iglesia a través de YouTube. Y fue el momento donde me enganché y quedé.
Bueno, eso fue con las canciones y luego fue como que vamos a conocer un poco más la iglesia, y luego vi lo de los eGroups y dije, voy a chatear, voy a mandar mi correo y voy a unirme.
What did that mean to you when you saw that we had eGroups in Spanish?
Súper bien, porque hay muchos hispanos que quieren formar parte de una comunidad de iglesia, de hermanos en Cristo. Por ejemplo, con Elevation sí se abre como el campo para que todos se unan, no solamente los que hablan inglés. Entonces que abran para hablar español es como que vamos, de una.
So Carlos, for you also got to lead an Essentials group in Spanish, and so I'd love to hear what made you even decide to lead a group in the first place.
Yo soy voluntario en español y hubo un momento que sentía que debía compartir mi experiencia con otros, y la herramienta que la iglesia me daba era eGroups. Quiero compartir la experiencia de Elevation en español con otros, porque porque habemos bastante hispanohablantes que escuchan Elevation Worship, pero no saben que tenemos español y que tenemos grupos en español.
Obviously, I think you guys have really great relationships within your e-group, but I'd love to hear for you, let's start Carlos, like, what is community like in your e-group?
Somos una familia en el que ya en la reunión todos hablamos de una manera sencilla, natural, ya compartimos experiencias personales de que, bueno, yo quiero que ores por mí porque estoy pasando una situación difícil y ya es entre todos.
Somos de diferentes países y sabes que entre países hay pues diferentes lenguajes, palabras que de repente tú no me entiendes, pero, o sea, a pesar de eso, siempre, o sea, hay unidad, sino que siempre como que nos conectamos en medio de la conversación y es como lo mejor de todo.
Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and getting to explore Colombia with me. And I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you for leading any group. Thank you for being a part of any group and part of our church. While Carlos and Natalia do some more sightseeing, I'm meeting up with one of our eFam, Lau, who's a volunteer for our prayer team. We're shopping at Market de Palo Quemao for fresh ingredients for the home-cooked Colombian dinner we'll be preparing tonight. You've been online with us a bunch, but I'd love to know, how did you first even hear about the church?
Well, I hear about the church through Elevation Worship. So I just started looking for them on the web, and I found out that you had like a live experience. I was in a painful moment in my marriage. I needed something to be part of. I heard that you had some volunteering for international people, and I was so amazed by that. And I started with prayer team, and that team was my first volunteer. My first volunteer
That's
team.
awesome.
They treat me like I was their friends, and they don't even know me because they are from all parts of the world.
Why do you think it's so important for people to not just watch the sermon, but actually like take a step and like volunteer?
For us as international, as like we are very far from the actual campus, to feel a part of the church, it's the only way to do it. It's through the eGroups or through volunteering.
Obviously, this prayer team you're part of is in Spanish. Why do you feel like it's important to have a prayer team specifically praying for people in Spanish?
When you do it on our language, that's so meaningful because that means that you love people really. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, I'm gonna find someone that can pray for you and can do it in your language.
You feel like seen. Like,
yes, you feel seen, you feel heard. We had to cook.
We got a lot of cooking to do.
And we have a lot to cook, so
we need to
we should go,
Let's go then. Now that we have all the ingredients we need, we're headed out of the city and to Lau's home to prepare dinner. She's teaching me how to make a homemade Colombian dish called ajiaco. Not only is she a prayer team volunteer, but she manages the Elevation Espanol Instagram account and is an active member of her e-group. We've invited Carlos and Natalia to join us for dinner. So all of you live very far away, thousands of miles away from where our main campus is located, where we broadcast church every week. I think that's one of my favorite parts about our church is that we have such a global ministry and it is so much bigger than what's happening in Charlotte. But I do think a lot of people think that our Spanish ministry is just translating sermons and maybe some worship songs into Spanish, but I know that it is so much bigger than that. So I'd like to just know from you guys, like, what is like being part of our church from so far away?
Precisamente como tú dices, a veces se piensa que es solo lo que se muestra, quizás solo un sermón, pero realmente la iglesia ha venido creciendo personalmente. Bueno, tenemos un equipo de oración en español, tenemos un equipo de chat host en español, tenemos equipos de bienvenida. Yo creo también que los eGroups nos ayudan a sentirnos un poco más en casa. Y algo muy importante, tener esenciales. Y que esenciales lo podemos tener en español. Y yo creo que eso también nos acercó bastante.
Sí, y algo que me gusta resaltar ahí es que no importa la edad que tengas, puedes ser parte aún. Y el hecho de que, o sea, no importa las barreras del idioma, porque muchos hispanos quieren ser parte también. Entonces el idioma en español nos ayuda a crecer en gran manera. O sea, ya podemos comprender. Y no solo comprender el mensaje, sino también compartirlo entre nosotros.
2 años antes, para mí era imposible ver que hubiera un evento de Elevation aquí. Por algo él trajo Love Week acá y
sí.
fue algo muy impactante para nosotros dos, el estar ahí y el poder vivenciar el amor de la iglesia por otros.
So you guys are all involved on a pretty high level, and so I'd love to know from each of you, like, what have the personal relationships looked like for all of you within your eGroups, within your volunteer teams? What have those meant to you?
Llegué a un grupo que yo siempre he dicho que llegué en el lugar donde Dios quería que yo estuviera, con las personas que yo necesitaba y que forman parte importante de mi vida, que forman parte de ese momento quizás cuando me siento mal, de que estoy pasando por una situación como todos. Son las primeras personas que tengo a la mano y entonces son las primeras personas que llamo. O sea, cuando estás en esa llamada, tú sientes las palabras que esa persona te está diciendo aunque no está contigo, y de verdad que ha sido para mí una bendición espectacular.
Well, for me, I came to Elevation when I was on a very lonely place, like friendship-wise. I found one of my best friends, and she was the one that got me into Elevation Español. She just went like, hey, you do a great translation, so just help me, and I said yes. And she trusted me without even knowing me. Like, yeah. She didn't even know my name. There was something I was missing a lot from my place where I was at that time. And now she's one of my best friends. It's one of the friend that I actually like call and I feel like, hey, I'm lonely, I need you. For me, it was like restitution from God.
I think you guys have probably heard this a lot at church, but like we say all the time that our church is not a building, it's like where God's people are. And you three are such a great representation in Colombia, in Venezuela, and Panama. And so it's been really incredible to see.
Gracias.
Yeah, gracias.
Thank you.